Fake news.
Is that on the air right now, Jen? Is that? Oh, good. You folks missed the tirade beforehand. John needs to introduce us eventually.
From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Wednesday, February the 22nd, the year 2017. And now, here they are, live, in person, with a smile on their face.
And a song in their heart.
Jim and Rich.
George Washington's birthday. We will be on George. We are on George Washington's birthday.
Happy birthday, George. How old would George be today?
Really old.
200 and something, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, shouldn't have showed me this piece of paper just before we started. I won't even.
Yeah, you can't do that on the air anyway, Jim.
I can't do that on the air.
We're a nonpartisan group.
That's right. We only
station that is.
We're us. We have no opinions. We just talk.
Yeah, that's
about anything.
Yeah.
How are you, DeVita? You behaving yourself?
Yes.
Haven't seen you for a while. What have you been up to?
Oh, nothing. Just keeping myself busy and enjoying this nice spring weather in February.
Yeah. You all set for German food on Monday night?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And we
You're gonna have a little Gemütlichkeit?
I'm going to take Gabriel with me and treat him for the great help and wonderful young man that he is.
Okay, good.
So,
what are you going to have?
Food.
Oh, okay.
German food.
Last night I was at a meeting and Don Gelsomino says, Rich, I'm sitting next to Bill Larson. He goes, "You guys got jackets?" Meaning Norwich Improvement Party jackets. And but he didn't say that. And Bill and I looked at each other. We're wearing our jackets. Yeah, we got jackets. See, we're wearing them. We got them on.
Classy guys that you are.
Yeah.
What do we want to get into today? There's a couple of interesting things that kind of popped up today. I had a chuckle at an article regarding Sammy Sosa, who has great regret for how his tenure with the Cubs ended. But he's not going to be the one to make the first the first overture. It's if they want me, they know where to find me.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just thought that was another deal where it was convenient for the team to hype up something that probably normally wouldn't be all that big of a deal because they wanted to move Sosa out of town and do some damage control.
I think they would have moved him anyhow.
No, they might have, but that helped. That helped them.
Just gave him a better opportunity.
Because nobody can tell me that it's you're on a last place team going nowhere, final game of the season. You are a starting player. You've started a lineup, and you know what? You want to get a move on and get the heck out of the clubhouse and come back for next year or wherever you're going to be. Nobody can tell me this has not been done by other players.
Oh yeah, I mean there's great stories about it. I mean there's a great story in Jay Johnstone's book about asking an umpire to throw him out of the game after on the last game of the season so he could get home. And the umpire told him before the game. He goes, I can't do something like that.
Yeah, because I got to stay.
Yeah, because I got to stay. And he says, on the first pitch, I yelled from the dugout. I went, geez, you missed that one. And he went, Johnstone, you're out of here. And I yelled, thanks, I'll see you in the spring.
That's I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that he had permission to leave, but now that he thinks back, he probably shouldn't have done that. He probably should have stayed the whole time.
Well, I think maybe the idea is, and I'm just guessing, that you figure even though it's the final game of the season, maybe something would have happened that you would have liked to seen, or you would have liked to. I mean, maybe now that you're out of the game as a player, it's more, maybe a little bit more important, even though it's only one game.
Sure.
So
the guy actually was a nice article. Chuck Wasserstrom, who was the PR guy for the Cubs back in those days, has a blog that's chuckbloggerstrom.com, and he had a nice interview with Sammy, talking about how they met, and nice conversation as you're reading it back and forth. He's what's he been doing? He's got some projects down in Panama. They're building around 2,000 houses. He has business in Europe, Hong Kong, Dubai, and he's always busy in the Dominican Republic, and he spends time in Miami. He said, I'm my own boss. I don't have to be at the ballpark at 10 o'clock every morning. He said, I'm happy. It's kind of funny, too. He when he was playing, he had his 4 children. One is 24, his other girl is 22, and the boys are 20 and 19. And now he has 2 more, 5 and 2.
Where does Sammy Sosa live?
He spends his time, I think, between the Dominican Republic, and he spends time in Miami.
Oh, I always wonder, Jim. I get the feeling that after you've been a major league player or a professional athlete, especially if you've been for a long time, it's sort of like somebody who comes back from war. You're never going to have that same charge, I guess, in life as that experience. It's just such a high, I think, that you're not going to re-experience anything quite like it.
And he talked about his 4 older kids that they had them during his playing career, and they were little when he was playing and on the road, so he really wasn't around that much. And now he has 2 more children. One is 5 and one is 2. And he said, my wife and I had the first 4. After a while, I said to Sonia, in a few years, our kids are going to leave the house, so let's see if we can have a couple of more kids so we're not home alone. I don't want to be fighting with you every day.
So he decided to do, not fight, but do something else.
Yeah. He said the first 4, I was never home much, 162 games, spring training. It was hard. After I retired, I now see a different world and a different life. I'm becoming a better man because I see my kids every day. Yeah, that's, you know what? He says, anytime I have a trip that I have to go out of town, it's never for very long, and then I come back, and I always stay home to play with them. I feel great because the 2 little ones see me every day. So I think that's nice. He says, as far as their time, they split their time between the Dominican Republic and Miami, and when it's time for those the 2 young kids to go to school, he wants them to get their education in the Miami area.
Yeah, thank God for the Sammy Sosas, though, because whether you are somebody who does not like Sammy or you're a fan of his, and it's hard to be neutral about somebody like Sammy.
Yeah.
But when you have guys like that, not everybody could be, say, I don't know. I won't use an example because I don't want to make this sound like it's a criticism. It's not. But if you're just a regular guy, comes every day, does their job, you sort of. Yeah, a good team guy like that. But you're really nothing controversial happens. Nothing usually spectacular happens. You're a good major league ball player. You're a good professional football player, whatever the case may be. That's great. But you need some of these people who are newsworthy, or that do things that get everybody talking. You need those people, otherwise the games would not be as interesting as what they are.
Yeah, and it's Chuck Wasserstrom asked him, would you like to come back to Chicago to do the 7th inning stretch or the Cub convention or things like that? Well, Sammy's reply was, I never say no to that. I owe something to the people, to the crowd in Chicago. For that, I would come back. But I'm not going to go up there and say, I'm here, please bring me back and give me a chance. No way, I'm not hungry. I have too much pride. They know where they can find me.
Now, aren't all ex-Cubs invited to come to the Cub convention? Or I guess they wouldn't be, I suppose.
No, he's never been. He hasn't been invited.
I just thought when you say Cubs convention, if you're Dick Pole, you could come back and be part of the Cubs convention.
That's
Sammy
right.
Taylor, Mo Thacker, if they're alive, I don't even know.
Kuno Berrigan, I believe, has passed away.
So I just thought, hey, you were a Cub, come on.
Yeah, you would think it's like high school reunion.
Yeah, I mean
By
everybody's
the way,
invited.
Mary is our friend Mary Georgianis has been beating Facebook for a reminder that our class is going to have a reunion in 2 years, and she wants to start planning this spring.
Boy, she's just a glutton for punishment, doesn't she?
I know. Jeez.
Man, I ran into Carol Bowman over the weekend, and she was a step ahead of you. She let me know about that, and I'm like, hey, I'll be there. If wherever you guys are going to be at, I'll be there.
Sure. John Donati said we should just get on a train, go down to New Orleans, and have a party down there.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
Not a bad thought.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have to get off the train.
We
We just
don't
get
know.
back on the train and come back up. It'd be
just turn around and do that. I remember
it'd be like a 4-day party.
I remember having to go down to Champaign one time to see somebody who was going to go down there, and he was doing a ESPN game the next day. He was part of the crew, and I was going to go down there, and we were going to ride together over to Indianapolis to his house. But it was there was a church group that was headed down. They were headed down for the start of Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to stay on the train with them.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't want to get off in Champaign.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And we're on the city of New Orleans too.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hang out with them and just go down there and enjoy myself.
Yeah. That would have been fun.
So anyhow,
Hey, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
I was going to say, what did you? I know you're probably glued to the set Sunday night watching the NBA All-Star game.
No, thank God.
Did you? I thought it was.
I want to know who had the under in that game. Who would take the under in that game?
I thought it was interesting. I read some of Jimmy Butler's comments about the game, and he scored 6 points, which is I think he's been in maybe 3 All-Star games, and that's the most he's scored. I mean, it tied his high. And he said, well, basically it pretty much is what it is. He says it's really not my type of game, but hey, I'm just glad to be down there and be part of it and be an all-star starter, and which I think is a very healthy attitude.
It's a great attitude, and you know what? You're going to go down there and you're going to have fun. You're going to give them a show. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it is.
Oh, definitely.
What was the final? 192 to.
Yeah, it was 192 to 180 something, and 187, Johnson.
192 to 187. And I think I had heard somewhere along the way prior to that the over under was 355
Wow.
and a half.
Wow.
I think that's what I heard. I'm not sure.
I found it interesting that here what I find sort of fascinating is was Anthony Davis, who won, the East or the West? I'm not even sure.
Whatever's
The West
whatever
won.
side Anthony Davis was on.
Okay, Anthony. So the guys on the West, yeah, that's right, because he was saying Harden and Westbrook and those guys.
Yeah.
They decided to keep. Hey, they just kept giving me the ball. 52.
Hey, think back to that All-Star game after a Magic retired, and he came back to play in that All-Star game. Mm-hmm. And all they did was feed him the ball and clear out.
Yeah.
And let him score, and he wound up being the MVP.
Yeah.
By the way, on the way over here today, I heard that, speaking of Magic, that Laker-wise, for any Laker fans out there, Mitch Kupchak got the heave-ho as the general manager, and Jim Buss got fired. His sister fired him. Yeah. And who's president of basketball operations right now?
Magic, right?
Magic.
Well, never makes comments to the effect that if I don't have this job done in 3 years, then I should be out of the job, which was Jim Buss's exact comment coming into the job. And 3 years later, and I think 3 last place finishes later.
And it's been some horrible
and, I have to say this. That comment right there shows me a lack of understanding, I think, of the job, because I don't think you would get any basketball man whatever the status of their ego was, to come in and say, in 3 years I'll guarantee it will be whatever. Because I think the reality of the situation is not always going to lend itself to success in X period of time.
No, I mean look at how long has Paxson been in charge of the Bulls? 14 years.
Has it been that long? Wow.
And what have they done?
Yeah, well, not much.
One Eastern Conference final.
Yeah. Well, did you see there was a friend of mine sent me something on Facebook, and it was a picture of oh God, what's this character? The guy who plays the sort of well, not sort of, but it's a totally comical. He's like a super villain type of guy. He's a short guy. Is it Martin Short that plays? And I can't think of the name of the character. But anyway,
I don't know if you could tell me the name of the character. I could probably agree.
Yeah, you'd probably get it.
All I could think of was Boris Badenoff from the old Rocky
and
Bullwinkle.
But at any rate, this guy's trying to turn around a vehicle in a space that is you just can't do it in. And the caption, the heading of the whole thing is, this is where the Bulls are at turnaround wise.
Oh yeah, good Lord! And somebody had and I wish I could remember who posted it, but they talked about somebody posted an article today, and I bet you I can go back and find it now that I'm thinking about it. How the Bulls managed to screw up a trade that they weren't even involved in.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, with Boogie. And
with who?
Cousins being traded over the weekend.
Oh,
the Bulls managed to screw that, get that up because they were supposed to get the draft pick from Sacramento that went with that deal.
Yeah,
and if they were outside of I'll have to find it, but it basically now I think it is if the Bulls get the draft pick. If the Bulls get the draft pick instead of number 10 in the first round, it'll be a second round draft pick.
Well, I think what it is that the Kings had a good shot of being maybe a possible lottery.
Yes.
So when the draft pick was traded to New Orleans,
right.
That's out the window. So it'll be a more. It will not be as high a draft pick.
No, I think what they're saying now it's would be like a second round draft pick. So the comment was they managed to screw up a trade that they weren't even involved in.
Let me ask you this.
Talk about being in basketball purgatory.
The talk about Jimmy Butler possibly being traded is in the last week ramped up a bit. But do you think, in your own mind, Jim, do you think there's any chance that they'll trade him?
No, I don't think so. No. I don't think so.
No, I agree with you. I just don't feel I don't have that sense of it. They could fool us, and the trade that they're talking about now that seems to be the biggest rumor is Butler going to the Celtics.
I've heard that one all along, but I think now that you kind of wonder if Cousins is Cousins being off the table is kind of eliminated things here. I found the article. Tim Baffo on CBS posted. Yeah, only the Bulls could lose a trade they weren't involved in. They talked about. Let's see. He was likening this whole thing to something written by Kurt Vonnegut in 1980. We won't even get into that. He said, he comes to mind because I had to laugh to keep from crying once again over the woebegone Chicago Bulls on Sunday evening into Monday. That's when the trade between the Sacramento Kings and the New Orleans Pelicans went down that sent superstar big man DeMarcus Boogie Cousins from the former to the latter. I had long held out a rational hope that somehow the Bulls would eventually acquire Cousins because I love him with a love that dare not speak its name. He's a beautiful thunderstorm of immense talent, basketball bipolarism, ability to tick off the starchiest of sports writers and fans, all with a subtle humor that acts like my version of a player created in a video game if personality could factor in. though he'd then also have red hair. Boogie is the embodiment of singular chaos that I crave in sports. He was never going to be a Bull, even as the self-hosing the Kings accepted in return from the Pelicans was more than the Bulls could realistically ever offer. Doug McDermott and Denzel Valentine and Nikola Mirotic and picks. And the other issue is you couldn't have a guy with a personality as strong as DeMarcus Cousins being coached by Fred Hoiberg. Lord.
I'd say DeMarcus Cousins is a tremendous talent, but there's two things. I'm not sure. Who would you? I'm trying to think. I think of Rasheed Wallace when I think of Cousins, and of course Rasheed Wallace played with some other strong players, was on some championship teams, and it all worked out well. But he was a big pain in the rear.
Yeah.
The other thing is, DeMarcus Cousins in his own situation has not lifted the team that he's already with one iota. So why would you think that he'd be able to do that with the Bulls?
Why would you expect it? I mean, the deal on the trade was at the moment the Kings are the 11th worst team in the NBA. Should their first-round pick in this June's draft fall outside the top 10, it would be conveyed to the Bulls as part of a 2014 trade between Chicago and Cleveland. With Boogie on the board, that was the track the Kings were on, challenging for the West 8th seed and on pace to have their pick fall outside the top 10. The Bulls certainly won't get that pick now, and with the Kings losing their best player and having no need to try to win anything this season, that pick instead turns into a second-rounder.
Now, I was going to ask you this. It said the article I read also said that the Kings basically coveted Buddy Held.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Has he been playing that much?
I didn't think so.
New Orleans, I don't know.
A lot of people were going, "What is wrong? What Vladdy? What? Why did you covet him? What was the big deal?"
Well, maybe we'll find out if he gets some floor time.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Because he had to be. I know he was obviously he was a first-round draft choice, but I thought he went pretty high in the draft.
I thought he did too.
So it's what though I would say this. The more I looked at some trades that were made over the winter meetings in baseball, and they were all who dat trades. I mean, who dat? Who is that guy we're talking about?
Was there any blockbuster?
I don't think there was anything that I could think of
that would be just one that'd go, oh my God.
Now, see, the NHL's trades I find interesting because there's so many solid guys that are not well known. Because of the nature of that sport, you could be a very solid player, maybe not with gaudy stats, but somebody who could really be a big difference maker. And those types of guys seem to get traded pretty frequently.
Yeah.
So those trades end up interesting. But NBA trades are very, because of contracts and personalities and everything, are very iffy.
Yeah. Here's a post from 12:15 from it was posted at 12:15 on CBSChicago.com. The Bulls are rebuffing trade inquiries on Butler ahead of the 2 p.m. deadline Thursday. The Tribune's Casey Johnson reported Tuesday, as the Bulls have hovered around 500 with a questionable future direction. Trade speculation has swirled around Butler, a three-time All-Star who's been one of the league's best two-way players. The Celtics have been front and center on that trade speculation, but that's based more on assumed fit rather than substantive discussion, Johnson reports. Bulls and Celtics engaged serious trade discussions regarding Butler on draft night last June before Chicago stood pat. And Jimmy says, I can't worry about that. It don't bother me or scare me none. I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
Let me ask you this, though. And people have knocked the fact that they let Thibodeau go and brought in Hoiberg. Again, in your own mind, do you think the Bulls constituted the way they are with the personnel that they have? Do you think they'd be any better? They'd be better, but would they be that much better with Thibodeau than Hoiberg? They'd
be better, but they'd be a middle of the pack team again.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They'd they wouldn't be a team that's 2 games under 500 just simply because Tibbs would just scare the living bejesus out of him. I was going to say something else, John, but I didn't think you'd. You were reaching for the phone. I could.
Just looking for the phone number right
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, you know what though? We've actually improved. John has it off speed dial.
Oh, good.
So
good.
that's a good thing.
All
He's
right.
actually now got to look for the phone number.
All right, good. That's good because I was going to say something else.
Yeah. Did you see there was a thing I just noticed before I came over here? It seems that in some areas, and I'm skipping over to the NFL draft, that Patrick Mahomes, I believe Texas Tech quarterback, has
yes.
become a big
Yes,
big deal
big
right now.
Big deal, and I think as I was coming in, just about to come in, Matt Miller was about to go on the score, and he says, and he's going to talk and they were teasing it and saying he's going to talk about a quarterback that a lot of people are suddenly talking about, and I bet you that was him.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I bet you that was him
doubt
who
it.
he was going to talk about.
Are we to the? We're not to the break yet, are we? Holy cripe! Jim, we better do some show prep from now on.
Man!
Hey, though, I have to say, Jim won't admit it, but I think he's got a brand new prescription to Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Because
that really was kind of funny. On 2 days in a row, we get guys die.
Yeah, we had
old wrestlers.
Yes, George the Animal Steel and one day, and Ivan Koloff the next.
The Russian Bear.
Yeah, you know what I've had the opportunity to see both of those wrestlers perform in person, and those are guys who put a smile on your face and make the sport of wrestling. The great sport of wrestling, what it is.
Give you a chuckle.
Oh, they give you a chuckle.
They give you a smile when you see that, and it was kind of interesting because the whole deal with George the Animal Steel, following along on Facebook of people, with various people. I had seen a posting a day or two before about, and actually it was a link off of Hulk Hogan's Facebook page, and he said, something to the effect that George is not in good health, and he's such a great guy.
Yeah.
And he said, prayers going out to him.
Well, I can't say that I saw this to a super great extent, but when I think I mentioned to you years ago, I used to go to the Cockpit Lounge in the Air Host Motel on Mannheim in Schiller Park, I guess that would be still.
Classy joint.
And that's where the wrestlers used to stay when they were in town, prior to them really hitting it big.
Then, yeah.
But it wasn't unusual. I can remember Hulk Hogan wrestling Brutus Beefcake, and then those guys were best of friends. I mean, they were having a dinner together after the event. Yeah. And at one time, before they were ever WWF wrestlers, back in the beginning, they were tag team partners, I think, in the South somewhere, and went under, I think they were the Gold Brothers or something.
Something like that. I used to see them, and this was more in WWF days. I used to see them when they'd be in town over at, it was the Chicago Health Club then over on Cumberland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And guys were great to talk to. Mm-hmm. They were a lot of fun to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'd see sometimes one day I was in there and there's just sitting up at the table having a cup of coffee was Ric Flair.
Oh,
really nice, nice guy to talk to.
Yeah.
And I saw one of the guys from Demolition in there one time.
Okay.
No, I can't tell that story. Never mind. I can't say what he
sorry.
said. I can't say what he said, but he said that. I said, geez, and the night before it was over Thanksgiving weekend. The night before they had a pay-per-view show out east. Mm-hmm. And I said, geez, you said you guys are traveling. And he said, well, he said they make good arrangements for traveling. We stay in nice places. We have facilities like this. We can come and work out. He said, it's not like in the old days. And you're,
that you're
rough. At your jumping in your car and driving from Jockstrap, Missouri to Hoo-Ha, Arkansas.
Yeah, no, that's a yeah. That's
There was
right on the money.
There was something else he said besides hoo-ha.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said it's not bad. He said we're paid. He said we're compensated well. He said he said it's nice when we get a chance to meet people and talk to people.
Now, and this is not super serious, but I'm glad I mentioned those two. George Steele and Ivan Koloff, because
he died from eating tainted turnbuckle.
Yeah, George did.
George died from eating a tainted turnbuckle.
But somebody just posted that Jim Cornette, who was one of the great managers, and I'm assuming he's one of the guys who also was he helped write the scripts and whatnot. I get that strong feeling. He is not in the WWF Hall of Fame, and he definitely should be. And I was shocked when I saw that.
I'm surprised to hear that, and I was surprised to read, and I read about it, that another one that's going into the Hall of Fame is Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh, yeah, Diamond Dallas Page.
And he's had quite a career, and he's helped some retired wrestlers. Mm-hmm. With their quality of life, because he's developed some yoga techniques.
Okay.
And he's been teaching this.
Oh, wow.
And because he really didn't get started until the ring until he was like his mid-30s.
Yeah, he was a late starter, and he was always a wannabe, and then he actually became.
He became, actually was.
Yep.
Break time.
You are listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Wednesday, February the 22nd, the year 2017, with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois. And now, back to Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro.
Hello.
Hey. Hello. Can you hear me there?
There we go. There we go.
Hey, Jim, I even though we did no show prep and we're
sort of... But there was a couple other things.
I'm sorry.
As we were on this thing. It was a nice picture of Diamond Dallas Page.
Okay.
In this article. Looks really good, trimmed down.
Okay.
Talked about some of the people that he helped. I mean, one of them he talked about with this yoga as far as the quality of life and everything. He mentioned Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh, okay.
And there was somebody else, draw a blank on it. I've also seen something recently as somebody brought up in some article about Bobby Heenan. Mm-hmm. Not in good health. Can't, apparently the throat cancer or whatever, he can't speak anymore.
Man.
And Bobby Heenan not being able to speak.
That is rough.
That would be a tough.
Yeah.
That would be tough for him. But the whole thing that was funny was the article when I saw that about Ivan Koloff. It was on TMZ.com.
Really?
That's what kind of surprised me. The source of the news.
Let me ask you that. I was messing around. Just names were popping into my head as usual, and. Do you know when Bobby Heenan broke into wrestling, who his first opponent was? Fairly well-known black wrestler. I think wrestled quite a bit here in Chicago, probably for Bob Luce. Eliminate Bobo Brazil.
I was just about
Art Thomas.
Those are the two that I was just about to say.
But his first match was against Calvin Prince Pullins.
Okay,
you remember Prince
vaguely
Pullins?
Remember that one.
Yeah,
I vaguely remember it.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, Jim, and this is, I thought a little bit about this over the week. There are people, and this is hard for me to understand because I'm a person who really, how could you say it? I admire quality. Are you a person who... Are you put off, say, by the fact that the Patriots win the Super Bowl again and they have done so well? Are you? I know I'm not saying you're an anti-Yankee, but I always look at it as
No,
a sort of
no.
anti-Yankee syndrome.
No.
Are you into that, or is that something you don't like to see in professional or any kind of sports?
I mean, me from a personal, my only interest in the game was the fact that I took Atlanta in the points.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I took the under.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to see was a good quality game, and it was an amazing game. Mm-hmm. It really was. And you look at it, you look at him, meaning Tom Brady, and anybody can go up there and say, I hate Tom Brady. I think you the last time we got together, I said, is he the greatest that ever played the position? And I knew you were going to bring up Johnny Unitas right away. Mm-hmm. But you talked about, I think you said he is the, my exact term, maybe something like you said, he is the blueprint of what a quarterback should be.
Yeah.
Not necessarily he's the greatest that ever played, but he is the blueprint of what a quarterback should be like out there. And I think I look at it more for, am I watching something where I got a good quality game and it's going to hold my interest during it, because the playoffs sure didn't.
No, the playoffs were
really
not great this year.
With about a quarter, with about a game and a half that was actually compelling football to watch. The rest of them you watch, they were nothing but this Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was something, huh?
And I don't get on the issue of geez, I'm 65 years old. I'm not going to get upset because the Patriots keep winning the Super Bowl. Maybe if I was 10, and I was, and I'm going back to the days when I was 10 and the Yankees were always winning the World Series. You'd kind of look at it and go, again?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was thinking about that too. There was one day I looked up. You remember the name Suitcase Seeds? Bob Suitcase Seeds?
No, I remember Suitcase Simpson.
Okay, Seeds would have been back in the 30s, late 30s. Played with the Yankees a little bit.
Okay.
A really good minor league player. He played in, I want to say, 1937 or 38, one of the Yankees farm clubs, I think might have been Trenton, New Jersey. They say possibly the greatest minor league ball club of all time. And Seeds was on that team.
Newark, maybe?
Could have been Newark as well. But at any rate, when I have sort of, I like the idea of the excellence of the dynastic teams. But when I think back about the Yankees in the years that I remember them, and prior to even being able to remember them, how many guys, because of the rules of baseball at the time, how many excellent players just got stuck in the Yankee farm system?
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to look at. CEDES?
SEEDS.
SEEDS. Bob Seeds.
Yeah. But it's always been, go ahead, Jim. You getting it?
Okay, yeah, all right. Let me bring up his Wikipedia page.
And he had, he had a fairly long major league career as well.
Yeah.
Moved around a little bit. They call him Suitcase Seeds because he did move around a little bit.
Played, he passed away in 1993 at the age of 86. He made his debut April 19th, 1930 for the Cleveland Indians. His last major league appearance was September 24th, 1940 for the New York Giants. Played for the Cleveland Indians 1930 to 32. Played for the White Sox in 32. Played for the Boston Red Sox 33-34. Played for Cleveland also in 34. Played for the New York Yankees in 1936. Played for the New York Giants 1938 to 1940. Yeah, and the well-traveled player was known by the nickname Suitcase.
Yeah.
Another theory of the origin of the Suitcase name states that he earned the moniker due to his large suitcase-like feet. He was a member of the 1937 Newark Bears.
Newark Bears, yeah.
A farm team of the New York Yankees, known as one of the greatest seasons for a minor league team of all time. Seeds batted .303 with 20 home runs in 1937 and led the Bears with 112 runs batted in. During one weekend of the season, Seeds hit 7 home runs and 10 at-bats and drove in 17 runs.
Wow. It's interesting.
You're giving me. There's a couple of times you've given me things going. I keep wanting to start blogging about some of these anomalies and these oddball things in baseball. And now you're starting to give me another idea.
Yeah, well, there's enough. There's enough out
guys.
there.
There's enough out there for sure.
I mean, it's never ending. When you start to think of one of the greatest, and I think one of the things that really drew me into the world of sports, and I think, I don't know if we talked about this. Did I text you about this, Jim? There was a guy, and I can't think of his name, and I texted you about him. He was a former San Francisco 49er.
Yes, you mentioned it, and college guy.
Chico State.
Went to Chico State.
14 letterman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George the Animal Steel died. Was his tongue green?
Was his tongue green? Yeah. Yeah. I saw his tongue one time.
And then you come back with played football with Al Shaw. I think the logical question I asked, I followed up with, you were George.
You were George. Al Shaw knew him from. They're Michiganders, so they know each other.
Yeah, and he coached football. George the Animal Steel. His real name was Jim Myers. Coached at a high school in the Detroit area, Madison Heights. Coached there for many years. Wrestling was the side job.
Well, prior to us getting together, Jim, you take a look at the other
George Medeiros.
George Medeiros. I had a show for a short period of time called let's see, what the heck was it now? The idea was the Local Legends is what it was.
Local Legends. Okay, I was a guest on your show one time.
And the idea was that there are so throughout this country there are so many. I think of a guy like maybe Tony Marty. Tony Marty was a state champion in wrestling at Ridgewood. Not a big man, an excellent football player and an excellent wrestler, and a really tough guy. Tony's one that pops into my mind, but there's many others if I thought about it that I would be able to name. And there's people like that all over the country. And the gentleman that you just named, George Medeiros played. Now here's my contention too, and one of the reasons that I texted you that day. Medeiros played a couple of seasons in the 50s for the 49ers. And my contention was, thank you, John, is that here's a guy, maybe he would have spent more time with the Niners, but you didn't. You know what? If you were a guy who was just a starter, not a star, or you were just hanging on, it wasn't really worth your while to hang on. You could probably go and make more money in another profession. So you could have been a good football player and maybe somebody who could have played 6-7 years, but you know what? You chose to move on. There was no pension at the time. There was no big salary even for guys who were, the last man on the team. Sure. So you moved on. And here's a guy, 14 letters.
14 letters at Chico State in football, basketball, boxing, and track.
Right. So...
And you started out texting me with, did you ever think about the great athletes who didn't become stars in the pros, especially prior to the 60s? Mm-hmm. And I said, your first text might make an interesting book.
Yeah, I mean, it could. You could probably make a few books out of that one.
Yeah, and again, I responded, sort of an expanded Hall of the Very Good.
Yeah. Well,
we talked about, and we went, you brought up about the fact that so many old Bear players back in that day became doctors.
Yes, there were a lot of doctors. Yeah, a lot of. I remember my grandfather would bring home the I don't know what you would call it. It was the Bears
media guide.
Media guide.
My dad had tickets back in the 40s, and I think after my parents got married in 46, they may have had it for another year or two, but for years after that, every year
you got the media guide.
We got the media guide, and I just.
Went through
devoured that thing.
Oh, definitely.
I wish I still had them.
Yeah, I do too. Those were
those were
classics.
Great. And I always coveted looking at the coaches when they'd have that pose with that hat with the script B, and when I finally found a Bears hat with that B on it, I was like, oh, I was 53. I was 53 years old, but by God, I love that.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Made me feel like I was 12 again.
Yeah. You know what? Again, because of that old media guide, there was a time before, scouting and everything became really professionalized, I guess you'd say, where if you were a team like the Bears, first you had been around forever, you were one of the first pro teams ever, and then as the people that played for you branched out because of the way things were, if those people wanted to stay in sports, there weren't like hundreds of professional coaching jobs. There probably weren't even a whole lot of college coaching jobs. But those guys maybe went to the smaller colleges or the high schools.
Sure.
And so they saw guys, from the ground up, so to speak. And so when it came time for a draft, they could say to the Bears,
this kid played for me.
He's a good ball player.
This kid played for me, and
right.
I was his, defensive coach.
Right.
And you think back too when you talk about there wasn't a lot of coaching jobs probably back then. You think of the, you never heard of a defensive back coach.
Right,
or a tight end coach.
Now you got assistant defensive backs.
That's
coach.
right, and we have a quality
control coach. I once in a while when in the deal section, when not so much. Well, the coaching is one thing, but if you look at any of these teams, and it could be any sport, and they do some type of a hire for their front office, and they put it in the deal section of the paper. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's titles for these people. You're thinking, okay, I saw the title. What the heck does that mean? I mean, you have no clue what the heck these people are. You know what I notice now, and it's happening in Major League Baseball, not just at the Major League level, but all the way down in the minors. They'll have I'll just say, I can't think of the term they use, a thinking coach. Okay, really, they do. They have a thinking coach. Okay, so they're going to get your mind right, and it's funny to talk about, but I know what the idea is, because it's not an idea that's foreign to myself. I actually think it's a good idea, but at the same time, when you look at it and you sort of look at it on its face, and you're like, what the heck are they doing?
This was you said that and made me think of two things. First of all, what was his name? Dan Herron.
Yeah, Dan Herron.
Dan Herron, who I follow on Twitter.
Okay.
Because first of all, he's funny.
Okay.
He's funny, and I mean his Twitter handle. I think he changed his Twitter handle now that he's retired to "I used to throw 88."
Yeah.
When he was playing was "I throw 88."
Yeah.
He was hired in this pitching thing for the Diamondbacks. Mm-hmm. And it sounded like this really weird title. I don't know what it was. And somebody said, I think somebody tweeted him and says, exactly what are your duties? And he's, well, I'll be doing this, this, and this, and I will also teach them how to write funny tweets. and you read when David Ross was hired by the Cubs, mm-hmm. and you read what his, the press release. And it was, they listed all these duties, and they said, now, and I was listening on the radio, and it was, now exactly what does this mean? What do you think he's going to be doing? It's going to be, the response back was, whatever he wants.
Yeah, that's what, that is really what it usually comes down to.
Whatever you want. Dave, we want you to go take a look at two guys. Can you get away next week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure, I'll go.
Yeah. No, we're actually, we're rewarding this guy because he, because of who he is, basically.
That's right.
I mean, we like who he is, and we want him around.
Yeah. I think at some point in time, Joe's going to retire, and if David has had some managerial or coaching experience,
Now, I find it interesting, though, that it seems the story has shifted from Grandpa Rossi being, and he probably was a very positive influence.
Oh, I think
but
he was,
they're saying Miguel Montero now was probably the big positive influence. So and they both probably are.
They both
in their own
They
in
both
their own
probably
ways.
are, and I think that's why Miggy had some hurt feelings during the playoffs in the World Series, and apparently he and Joe had a couple of bottles of wine last night from the picture I saw, and they love each other again.
Well, it's finally coming out that, and you know what? I think maybe it was things happen for a reason. I forgot that Strop and Rondon had both had injuries that put them on the DL late in the year last year.
Yeah.
Because when they weren't used at all, I don't know if either of them got into the World Series at all. Strop maybe did. I don't think
did.
Rondon
I can't
did.
remember if Rondon did.
But I'm thinking, we still have these guys, and obviously they're a big part of your team. I mean, they use them. Before Strop got hurt, both of them, he used the heck out of both of them.
Sure.
But fortunately, and I'm saying fortunately in the sense of potential bad feelings, both of them had been hurt, and I think Joe used that as cover to make the pitching decisions that he did in the playoffs.
Oh, I think so.
And they're both at this point seem to be buying it, which is fortunate too, because those are the types of things where I don't care how mature you are, how much of a team guy you are, those things can leave bad feelings.
Sure.
So it's fortunate, and I read an article where they talked to both of those guys, and we're good, we're fine with it. So, and the thing you don't want to do is that if you get back in the same position, you can't do the same thing again.
No.
Because then you've just totally blown those players right out the window. They're never going to be any good for you again,
and they're not going to trust you.
And
They're not going to trust you.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an interesting season. It's going to be difficult for them, maybe to get back to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be very difficult to win that division unless you get hit with injuries.
Yeah.
Anybody scare you this year? Or have you hadn't had much of a chance to start to look at other teams?
No. My only question would be, how strong is the Cubs pitching going to be?
Yeah.
Starting pitching, I would say.
Yeah. The back end of the rotation, I mean, if Montgomery picks it up, that's fine. If who just came from the Dodgers? Anderson. He's the one that's going to get a try there.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing that bothers me the most, the back end of the rotation. You've got I'm also starting to think, of course, he's what, 35, 36 years old now. Where are you going to play Zobrist? You're not going to play every day because you've got a really good second baseman now who's developed in Baez. You want to put Schwarber in the outfield.
Mm-hmm. Well, what Madden is, I would say, top of the line when it comes to managing to get these guys the playing time. None of them seem to be worried about it. They understood that it worked out well last year. When you ever notice when you're in a winning season, how many things can be done? I mean, how many opportunities you have to utilize your players well. The problem you get, I think, is let's say this. What if the Cubs start out poorly? Over the first 30 games, we're not doing well. Now, will whatever game plan Joe has, will that still be in effect? Will he try to still gut it out with that game plan, even though some things in the game plan might not be working? I think that's where you maybe start to run into some problems. It all worked pretty smoothly, seamlessly last year. This year, we'll see. We don't know.
That's why we play the games.
Yep.
Oh, John just gave me a look like, oh, so profound when they said that.
I don't know. I think John is saying, let's go back to professional wrestling here.
I want to go back and talk about Gorgeous George. And Keller Kowalski.
Actually, what he's really saying is, how come we haven't talked about D. Rose in a while? My favorite player of all time.
There you go.
Hey,
Sox. White Sox. I think they'll be interesting to watch, just to see how this rebuild develops.
Yeah, I was thinking about this though, Jim. The Cubs developed an excellent farm system.
Yeah,
but the overall plan was overseen by somebody who first had success before, and now has really, in my mind, really gained trust. I mean, the architect of this whole thing, Epstein, knew what he was doing, obviously, and worked. Now, when the Sox are now being touted as having one of the top farm systems in Major League Baseball by virtue of the trades they made, the only problem I have with that is it's the same Sox organization that oversaw a lousy farm system
and traded away the prospects that they did have for garbage.
So to me, it's two different animals. If you have a farm system that's working, you're teaching your young players, your prospects, the game the way you want it played, and that's the right way, versus a more iffy situation.
I think I have a little more confidence this time in the and again, I don't know how much say he'll have in it, but I think I have a little more confidence in what they're doing in the farm system and the players out there that are in there, because Kenny Williams is not making the baseball decisions, or at least theoretically not making the baseball decisions.
Okay.
Because I think Hahn wants to do it this way, and if Jerry buys in on it, and Kenny doesn't get antsy and want to start pulling the trigger on deals, I think they have a chance to develop some players. It was kind of interesting yesterday, and it sounded like it sounded very meatballish, but I was listening to the Score yesterday afternoon when I was coming back from a couple of clients along the way, and they started because it was a holiday, Bernstein and Goff weren't on. It was the two other guys, but he got on the White Sox trade, and he thought that the trade that they made to get rid of for sale was terrible because all it did was bring prospects.
Who got on this now?
The host yesterday.
Oh, okay.
It just brought prospects. Mm-hmm. You don't know if they're going to develop. Mm-hmm. You don't know if they're proven.
Yeah.
Theory, that's true. Mm-hmm. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, at least they've made a move to start doing something.
I mean, we joked. And I had to joke. I think we brought this up on the air after last season, listening to the Score, and Lawrence Holmes, who's a big Sox fan, said that he thought that the slogan for the White Sox for the 2017 season should be full-ass, because everything they've done prior to that was half-assed.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, at least commit to something.
But you know what? They for 2 seasons in a row. They won the Hot Stove League. What do you mean?
Is there a trophy? Is there a trophy for that? Did I miss the parade?
Yeah.
Did I miss?
You must have. You must
did
have
I miss the parade?
Because they had a big one.
Was there a big one down at Grant Park? Was everybody there?
Oh,
did
God,
I miss that?
Wow.
Oh, and winning the Hot Stove League.
Yeah.
Whew.
That shows you what that's worth.
Man.
I guess I still think about the players that are there. Melky Cabrera, for one. I mean, Melky, Avisail Garcia. Those guys are still pretty iffy guys in some respects.
Right. Yeah. I was waiting to hear what you were going to say about this. I thought if you were going to tell me these guys are top notch, I was going to question your sanity.
No. And who's actually is the catcher? Is that going to be the guy Narvaez, right? The guy who finished up. I'm pretty sure Narvaez and and Giovanni Soto are the 1 and 2
Soto,
catchers there.
and I thought there was somebody else.
I don't
thought
think so.
there was somebody else. Now you got me thinking about it. Now I got to.
Not unless they move Zach Collins right up to the majors.
No, he's down the road here. I know that at that point.
Avila went back to Detroit.
Right. 2017 White Sox catchers. 2017 White Sox roster. Let's see what the active roster on MLB.com shows.
Yeah, let's see what it shows. I'm pretty sure it's going to show Omar Narvaez and
Omar
Giovanni
Narvaez and Alfredo Gonzalez.
Soto. Alfredo Gonzalez.
I think Giovanni Soto was signed to a minor league
He's
contract.
on a minor league deal.
But there is a Giovanni, Giovanni Soto, who's a left-handed pitcher.
Oh, okay.
So we could have Soto throwing to Soto at some point.
Well, that will be interesting. Very interesting. And Abreu is going to take a few more swings as a DH, according to Rick Renteria.
Okay. And poor Charlie Tilson has got a stress fracture in his foot, and he's out for...
Charlie Tilson.
Poor Charlie
Tilson trade. Thank God, you know what? They only traded Zach Duke for Charlie Tilson.
Poor Charlie Tilson.
Charlie looks like he's going to have some injury issues in the majors
right.
here.
Well, listen.
Who gets injured in their first major league game besides who was that guy who got hit by the pitch with
Brian Downing. I remember coming up, and they put him in the game years ago at third base, and he fell trying to get a pop foul and tore his knee up.
Well, do you remember the guy that the Cubs brought up? They brought up two young guys. One was Matt Merton, and the other was the left-handed hitter. He came up the bat, got plunked in the head, and never came back.
I can't think of his name. I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah.
A couple of, Charlie Tilson. Poor Charlie Tilson. Well, we have no Kobe Buffalo meat news, and who's the other one we wanted to go all on?
I don't remember who we're going all out on.
There was another name you had.
Yeah, I don't.
Now I forgot it.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
Yeah, well, we'll keep up on Kobe Buffalo meat because we want to be on top of him.
Yeah,
and we want to be we don't want to be on top of him. We want to be on top of the news.
Right.
As he progresses through his career down at Illinois State come this season. Well, John, we killed about an hour. Is that you're thrilled? I can tell. I look at John in the other room here, just looking like, yeah.
I tell you, I think we're better when we're half asleep in the morning than after we're already awake in the afternoon.
Hey, I'm just happy I got my garage door fixed. I got a new garage door opener now. I can actually put the car in the garage.
Well, that's always an advantage.
That's always an advantage.
Especially with the brutal winter we're having.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with that. After, well, it was so funny. A couple of weeks ago, Dana backed her car out, and she heard this really strange noise and came in and saw something on the ground and saw that the spring had snapped.
Oh, okay.
And part of it was on the ground. And she says, and she called me and said the garage door is broken. Something fell, and I was afraid it was like one of the top panels or something that might have fallen. And I said, okay, well, there's the emergency cord. Pull that and lower the garage door. Well, when I said lower the garage door, I guess I kind of assumed that, guide it down. She pulled the thing, and I went, boom! And Dana went, ah! And I came home and I didn't see the broken spring, but I saw the other one hanging and dangling, and it reminded me years ago when over here on Ottawa we had a old wooden garage door and didn't have an opener on it, and I was trying to pull out because I was headed out on an audit and going out of town, so it's like 7:30 in the morning. I lift the garage door up and the spring snapped and almost knocked me cold.
Oh, I bet.
Came swinging around. It hit me in the shoulder.
Whoa.
And thank God I was able to get to the point. I had a nice tall step ladder that I kind of held the garage door with one hand, got the step ladder over, propped it so I could get it to rest the door on top of it, and got my car out.
Oh,
And
man.
and I went in and said it's time for a garage door opener and a new garage door.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I thought you were going to say that Dana heard this noise and realized she had backed through the garage.
No, my first question when she said the garage door is broken, I said, "Is your car out?"
Yeah.
And we great guy out there that we found, a complete door service. I'll recommend him to anybody. He's out in LaGrange in the western suburbs. He came over, and he looked at it, and he said, okay, well, I know what we'll do to fix this. And he said, he said, do me a favor, hit the button, and I'll just bring the garage door opener up, or bring the garage door up so I can do this. And I hit the button on the wall in the garage, and the garage door opener went, and he said, I think it's gone. And we got the garage door fixed. We got that part fixed. And he fooled around and got the chain back and figured it out. And he said, I don't know how long this will last. It may last 2 weeks. It may last 2 years. Well, it lasted about 3 days. But I gave him credit for it. I said, God bless you, Mike. You got it. You did your best to save me some money.
Yeah.
So, new Chamberlain garage door. I'm excited I can put my car in the garage tonight.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim.
This is small things that we look forward to.
Ah.
All right. A couple of weeks we'll get together and do this nonsense again. What should be, unless there's anything else on your mind?
No.
Anything on your mind, John? No. All right. Time for us to get out of here. Thanks for listening. We will catch up with you again in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about some other nonsense. Until that time, we are Taillights.
You have been listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Wednesday, February the 22nd on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chiconda. This program was pre-recorded on Tuesday, February the 21st, the year 2017. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois.